payroll time. Also, the support director and do HR things at CPT.
And I'm Heidi Ryland and I support HR payroll overtime web portal. I'm also the board administration for commissioners.
And they don't say it, they have to put up with me, which is a job in and of itself, but. You're right. Cool.
Congratulations, Eric. I think we did a good choice. Thank you.
Yeah, I agree, I think we should.
Here and we're just so thankful for all you guys hanging in there and those of you that reached out to our commissioners and put some heat on to get all that re-looked at, and it's been very good change, so we're very happy. But Jason, start with you, do introductions over here. Everybody knows you probably.
I'm Jason Deal at IT Commerce Company.
Kathy Erickson, treasurer Ransom Fund.
Dan Hanlon, Lamar County Auditor. Cindy World Treasurer in Moore County. David Davidson, Treasurer, Bardstown.
Erica Johnston, auditor treasurer in McKinsey County.
Carol Grants, Deputy Auditor, Barnes County.
Katie Hand, auditor, Furnace County.
Lisa Kenny, Tax Director in Pembina County. Linda Schlittenberg, Pembina County Auditor, Treasurer. Melissa Gap, Auditor, Treasurer of Pembina County in training.
Thank you, everyone. So for staffing, obviously, we just talked about kind of the leadership change that we've had within the last year. We've also hired some new support individuals. Julie, who used to work at Stevens County in the auditor's office, Stevens County, where we're based at. So she has experience with financial, like on the Minnesota side, and she's, like she said, learning the North Dakota and then also the piece with tax. So it's really nice to be able to understand how those two programs work together and talk together. So we're very happy to have her back. And Liz, I mean, new name, same Liz. She left, she's back, and we're very happy that she is back. And Heidi and I have been constant in our modules, as has Dominique. And then on the Minnesota side, we do have some extra support people for the Minnesota tax. And developers, we have an intern and no, I guess other new developers, but yeah,
pretty stable.
yes, we've been chugging along, and like I said, it's been good. It's been a good last several months. 12 months ago, a little rough, but things are definitely much better. So we're very happy with all that. But
One thing, so I don't forget, what our intern is working on is a phone app for entering time. So hopefully by the end of the summer, we'll have, or here shortly, we'll have an app out there. Remote people, a lot of times highway departments, law enforcement, things like that. So that's what we're kind of looking at for time entry, as a way for them to enter time without necessarily having to come in to a facility and log into a computer. But that's what our internship program is.
some of you are using your punch clock currently for time entry. I know some of you are interested in just regular time entry without a punch clock, so and have reached out to us, so we will talk more about that when Mike says to, when we get that app actually done. But if you aren't using that at your county, I think that is a big time saver for lots of things. I mean, it's more self-directed, the employees enter their time, the system does an app for them. They're able to see their accruals, they cannot go negative on their accruals on their time card. They can go back historical, look at anything, they approve online, the supervisor approves online. And then they can access their check stubs online. So between printing all those stubs, getting those out to people, manually entering stuff in your batch for payroll processing, all those transactions. It is a big time saver, so. Anyway, so we're excited about that too, because that'll be a nice change that's been asked by both states to have a phone app. Because as Mike noted, a lot of people, assessors, highway dispatchers, things like that, they might be out on the road and they're gonna come punch in at the county before they head out, so. Yeah. Otherwise, contracts.
Well, I'd also like to welcome everybody. We have 10 people on, 11 12 people, 12 people on our Zoom, so I'd like to welcome everybody there too. And then we'll, yeah, go ahead. Are you gonna monitor chat?
Yes, I was going to.
Okay, so you can either put it in chat on Zoom or we do have on the speaker system here, so you could just ask questions or anything that comes up through the speaker system too.
Stacy says, good morning, the audio is great.
Oh, good. Well, like my wife used to tell me, she goes, I never have to worry about where to find you because all I have to do is you're so loud. And I'm like, yeah, first thing, contracts. I know in the rambunctious every happenings the last 12 months, I think we had the contract signed for through next July, was it June, July? What we're wondering for a discussion is we would be willing to just extend that. I know we had a little discussion, on it before on what to do with that, but I guess we're looking for input on that. We would like to do it. I think Minnesota is under 3-year contracts, the counties, so that would extend it another a year and a half, past next summer. But just wanted a discussion what people feel like that and.
Yeah.
And that, I mean, I don't know, I know that, have to review contracts with your counsel or attorneys usually, but
Anything, nothing has changed on.
nothing, no, and that's what I'm,
The end dates.
Yeah.
right. And that's what I'm wondering, I'm just wondering if that would be an easier way of doing it without having to,
Like do an addendum to just extend the date.
Yeah, that's a pretty easy thing to do.
okay.
But what I mean, Matt, earlier, with Bob, though, did he not say that we go out for 5 years, they guarantee us 5 years?
5 years.
Yeah.
I mean,
I believe that's.
yeah, I think he did say something about that,
He did say that he would guarantee it.
okay,
North Dakota companies for 5 years. So that would be a 3.5 year
Yep.
increase on that.
yep. I mean, the only thing we were just thinking the year and a half, because then it puts it in the same contract here as Minnesota, but I don't think it'd have to be by any means, so he did say that, I do remember that, now that you say that. Yeah, stability.
Right. Exactly.
We'll give you the cell number.
She's a short timer anyway.
I gotta look out for everybody else.
She'll be here.
Yeah. For the team, I gotta watch out.
Good question. Yep.
So we'll start setting something up on that. Any other questions before we kind of go into, going through some of the modules?
Just because it came up just now, a 5-year contract, I mean, we all understand that costs are rising for you guys and things too, so I'm sure you haven't even talked about what, if there'd be if you are gonna go out for 5
Well-
years, like, is there going to be, and totally understand and find that there's an incremental increase, we would just need to know what that information is.
Yep.
For our budgets.
And what we've done in Minnesota, we just done a 3% yearly
And I think
increase,
that's for
but.
the current one. About the 3% annual.
Mhm.
At the full level. So that's kind of our normal increase.
The cost of living adjustment.
Well, I mean, we all know, we all deal with it too, it costs more to keep employees.
Yeah,
Constantly trying to enrich benefits, and so those people costs, which is your most valuable asset, continue to increase, so.
by far, yes, I agree.
Good questions.
Yeah.
Well, we have exec meeting next week and then a board meeting, so, all that's, we can talk about all that for sure.
Just while we're talking about board, and I know at one time they had talked about having a.
A liaison or like,
Person, so that was my only other question on that kind of governance.
We did, and we really haven't had any discussion in the last year about North Dakota other than to not exit North Dakota. But yes, Heidi, like she mentioned, she does the board stuff. We can put whoever would like on that mailing list and you can tune into those meetings. We have our full board meeting every other month. Our full board meeting is at the end of So. Yeah, so is anyone really interested? I mean, you guys also know a lot of it's kind of boring, so.
I mean, I would at least like to, see what's on the agenda
Yeah.
and be able to tune in, because I think that's where some of this started. Is that it was on an agenda, but nobody in North Dakota knew we were a point of discussion.
Well, the
So-
employees really didn't know until we saw the agenda either, so,
Right.
yeah.
So I mean, I
Yeah.
think that just,
I think that's a great idea.
If you would, please, just leave it
Yep.
on the sign-in sheet, and then I will add you to the distribution list.
perfect, thank you.
And what we've been doing with the board meetings, so we've been meeting in person every other month. And then the other one is an online one with basically just our exact, but we do agendas for both, so. I think that's a great idea. I don't ever want to go down that road that we went down again, ever.
Same.
Yeah,
I agree.
I don't think we would if there was something, so. Anyway, but no, that's a good question, because we did talk about that also last week, about if anyone was interested, so. And something else on that, I know you guys had staffing changes, I'd probably be reaching out to all of you to get like the full email list for your counties on who we should be adding on anything for emailing and what they do, cause I had one I was working from, and then some of you, said this person left, place with this, so I've updated some of that, but then we have a good solid list of contacts coming into year end and all that, so. I'll send that out as well, so we can get that.
Yeah, that would be. Communication's always a good thing,
Yeah.
which has been kind of lacking. But
Anything else?
I gotta say, I just can't believe how much happier I am this meeting than last year, guys. Night and day difference there.
Ours too.
Well, with further ado,
Payroll?
now that I gave you the segue way early on it, the intern, but
Mike, I do have one. other
yeah, go ahead.
Just because I know you guys have been talking to a few new counties.
Oh, yeah, we should.
Like, how many counties do you support now, and how many are still kind of in that maybe column? And I know it's a hard thing, because I know some are transitioning out.
We have 5.
Well, Montreal and Dunn decided to leave.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so we kept our.
6, yeah.
And we've done a couple demos and one county, I think they're still fairly interested, but they haven't voted on it. I reached out to them and they haven't got back to it because I think they have support through 25, so they aren't real anxious, for that.
And actually, two counties that
Yeah.
would have,
And do you
one
know
has
that-
proved, oh, sorry.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
And what has proved to be the big sticking point is something we didn't even realize. Parcel number? Yes,
Yep.
which is the 14-digit parcel. I think we maybe could have done more, but. And we might be able to incorporate that without you all seeing a change, because I know you don't want to change. So we would have to have a secondary parcel number that you set a flag in the system file, if that's how you want to go, or if you want to stick to the original and then try and work that through. And I really don't know if we're gonna pick up any more if we don't do that. That's a question.
The parcel number is too long.
Ours is too short.
Yeah, they have
And
14
also-
digits, 14, right?
Yes, it's 14, and they can have alphanumeric characters, so it doesn't have to be all numbers even. So that's really like different.
Yeah.
It isn't just like we could add a few digits at the end, it can have letters and numbers all mixed up. So-
If you look at some parcel numbers from some other North Dakota counties, they're like this.
Yeah,
whole
they-
Yes.
Yeah.
one is,
First of all, makes sense, like I know A2 is Wapner City and this is this.
But
you know,
they-
Subdivision and.
some of them, they have a lot more, though, I mean, there's a meaningful numbers
Right.
and letters and.
Districts.
Yep, yep. That's right.
And then the other thing, just as a question, and you guys know, because we were under the impression, obviously, when it was announced that we were going to leave North Dakota, that the other smaller business was also going to be closing, and then it was just Tyler. But now, did someone end up purchasing that, or are they staying on? Because we kind of gathered that in some of our calls, that there's.
I think there were two smaller businesses.
Yeah,
There's the Dakota programs and software innovation.
Yeah.
okay,
And software innovations is not.
They are not closing, but my understanding is like that's a one-man show
okay,
and, or maybe two people
Yeah.
show. It's a very small out of South Dakota.
Mhm.
But I know like, I don't think either of them are doing any programming for the primary residence credit,
okay.
which I can't imagine.
Right.
That,
How would they?
Yeah.
Yeah, how would they ever?
It actually kind of stumbled through some other stuff that has trickled down, and I don't know, I know. So a couple of the counties have reached to me, and I said, well, that's all done through a program, so I'm assuming they're doing.
Oh, that could be.
Sure.
Okay.
but yeah, there are a couple of programmers that are not programming changes, will not be implementing the change. And that, I mean, that's not just primary residence credit, that's also like, there's some changes in PERS that are
Yep.
happening too,
Yep.
they're not doing any of those.
Oh, really? With the new, the PERS, the stuff that,
And I just, it boggles my mind how you can function in that environment.
Well, and to that point, we are setting up a booth tomorrow so I think Gwen will be sitting at our CBT booth, so we've not ever been to anything in North Dakota, so hopefully that might be an opportunity to talk to some other prospective clients and counties and answer questions, so we're hoping anyway, so.
I hope you do know that if you have any interest, they contact at least Lemoore County for.
We appreciate that.
Yeah,
We have
that's-
very good referrals and that is huge for us, that we're now, so.
I'm just super thankful because a year now, it's been a year, and we're still seeing in our email distribution group, how do I do this and
Yeah.
the other program?
Exactly.
So we're super thankful that we're
Linda
not in
asked if
that,
she's leaving.
in that situation.
well, again, we're super thankful too, because, no, we owe a lot to you guys.
Much happier
Yes,
all around.
yes, and I will say that was the longest ride back to Minnesota that I've ever been on after the last year.
Better you than me, Mike.
That's all I have to say about that.
I did question giving out scissors.
That did seem like an odd choice.
I don't know if it's a good choice.
Yes, I don't know, maybe it's a theme, but
See, they never trusted me with them, so I never did get to see them.
all right.
All right. Why not?
All right, well, maybe I will.
What's that?
Here goes first.
Yep. You want to pop it up? Oh, goodness. Goodness, you gotta wait.
Okay. I've used advance the screen.
Again, or, oh, I guess we kind of
There
did
we
that
go.
already.
Yep. Okay, so again, really glad this worked out for you guys coming, because we don't have a ton of updates, so we're happy to piggyback on this meeting and cover some things. So as Erica alluded, there are some PERS programming changes. We had a long conference call with ND PERS, the same gentleman that'll be here at the conference, Derek, presenting, so you guys will probably see what we saw. So we were able to ask questions and setting up that new plan, and then the different things with the percentage, which and then also reporting the other deferred contributions, which we have a lot of that already done. And we have set up a new plan because we had to do that back in 2021, something like that. And like I said, we did have that conference call, so Gwen has some ideas with programming on how we can address some of those changes. And then we will be able to submit test files to PERS, so we can be sure we're in right format and so forth on that file layout before we roll any of that out. And of course, we'll have more instructions when all that programming is done. Right now, it's still in the works, so I don't have a lot to show you. Did you have anything you wanted to add on that or question on what we were thinking, if everyone thinks that might work?
So as we understood it, you can have the actual PERS plan where if they enroll, they have to stay at that level. And then you can go through another means, which is using other companies, like almost deferred comp.
Like nationwide and things like that,
And
yeah.
we'll just allow for both methods to whatever your county is going to do. It seems odd to us that
Mhm.
anyone would lock themselves in that way through the regular one, but to us, it doesn't matter. We'll allow it.
Yeah, just to give you a little bit, so currently, just for round numbers, currently employees that are employed now get 15% of retirement. And so in this new plan, this defined contribution plan, there's 7% upfront that they must enroll in, and then there's this other 6% or whatever that's kind of optional. Or it's 9% on the front, and then this other 6% is optional, and because they're trying to get everybody to the same, right, 15%. But yes, it's a very weird thing, and we too don't understand why somebody who's 20 years old wants to lock themselves in
Right.
for life.
Yeah, because life changes.
It's really weird, so
Yeah.
there's decisions we have to make. Yeah, odd.
Yeah, that was our takeaway too, kind of, Erica. But yes, more will be coming on that. And like I said, we will be working on that programming and creating those test files, getting those to NDPERS, and then probably send out a recap with specific instructions and menu changes, options changes, once all that programming is implemented. So exciting, very exciting. All right, I'll turn over to Heidi with some of our other updates.
As Erica said, we really don't have any programming changes this year. It's just mostly gonna come down to the NDPERS. We will, at the end of the year, towards the end of the year, send out our year-end sequence again, updated with proper dates and such. As far as we are aware at this point, there are no changes in the W-2 forms or the 1095s. One thing that did change for 2023 was the threshold for filing the 1095s. If you have more than 10 employees, you have to file electronically. They will no longer allow you to do the paper filing for the 1095s. Tax tables, obviously, we haven't seen them yet. Once you have completed your year-end sequences, you need to let us know, and then we will upload the new tax tables into your systems for the withholdings for your employees.
Yeah, and like Heidi said, if you could let us know when you run that reorg, that option 1 on the year-end menu, because then we can move those tax tables over, because I think we had 1 or 2 counties that didn't let us know when we were following up and you were still in the old tables, which isn't the end of the world, but would like to get everybody on the new tables as soon as we know.
And then the one option we just wanted to kind of run over with you guys again is the net pay calculator. It's on your payroll processing menu. It is option 22. This can be utilized for employees who may have questions on what the withholding is, questions on if they make this W-4 change, what it will do with their withholding. You can show employees what their wage changes, what their net pay is going to be with a wage change. Also any PERS changes, especially with the new PERS coming up, how that's going to affect their net pay as well. I'll go to the next screen down, please. Thank you. So in the net pay calculator, you can go in and you can change the items on their master file, whether it's their deductions they're changing, their filing status. And then if you do an FH, that brings you to an input screen. And it's going to show you what their most recent pay stub looks like, or the transactions that are within that pay. And you can flip those around And do an F5 to calculate it, show then what the net pay would be with those changes. One thing when you're using this net pay calculator, we encourage you to sign out of payroll because as you're doing this process, it changes nothing in your employee's master file, but it does create temporary files that can sometimes hang up the system as you proceed into your workday. So we encourage you to sign out and sign back in to get those temporary files. Miss anything?
No, that's good.
So,
I mean, that's just a really good tool, especially when people want to make W-4 changes or if they're making a change to their a pre-tax deduction item. Like say they're upping it by $100, it doesn't mean their check is going to be $100 less. It'll be less than $100. So they can see things in real numbers and like Heidi said, without actually changing any of their live setup, and then they can determine what they wish to do. Other thing I wanted to say, which I know I said to the lovely ladies here at Pemina, but you have a lot of changes in staffing at your counties. We're here to help. I mean, and that goes for Heidi and I and all the rest of the support people. If you have questions, really don't worry. Like if you already called 5 times today, call that 6th time. It's okay. We are here to help. We'd rather have the 6 calls than no calls. And I did this and then I did this and now I've got a mess because we know you're learning. Linda laughs. So it's a true story, right? For some people. But we are here, so do call and you are, if you are newer, like I said, you are not charged per call, you pay a monthly fee. And that means if you call us once or 100 times, your fee is the same. And the other piece is we do training. So we can come to your county, you can come to our office, we can set up a Zoom. Any of the above. I mean, we can do Zooms for just small sections on something you want to learn. Because we know it's a lot to learn. And when people are retiring or leaving, yeah, again, we're happy to help. So we've been to Barnes a few times. Yeah, we've had lots of things. So, yeah.
another piece to that is, like, if you're, have to contact payroll or time web, send an email to Eric and I both, if that is your choice of reaching out to us. Obviously, the phone call works as well, but any of the support teams, you know, if you're working with financial, email Dominique and Julie, or tax, email Liz and Julie, so that one of us is gone or we're deep in a project, so the other one can respond, and your response time is going to be a little better. I mean, our response time is pretty good anyway, but
and that helps
it
us
helps.
learn too, because
Yeah.
some problems only come up once in a blue moon, and that gives everyone an opportunity to learn and understand that. So yes, very good point. So.
Are there any questions with our payroll system, or we also, as we noted, have the human resource system and the web time portal as well that.
I'll just say that net pay calculator is really handy, especially with the super confusing W-4 form.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, that W-4 form continues.
Nobody understands.
No. Yeah.
It is a hard one. We still get questions on that this many years later.
So,
So for
Thank
the portal for Barnes, how are you guys coming along fixing our holiday vacation hours?
We might have to get back to that, we're still working on that. Yeah, because there's many layers of that, because I think you're using the comp type code, right?
Yeah.
And then North Dakota comp is hard coded, so we will continue to look at that on what the best way is to get that going.
Do we need to just change type codes?
Yeah,
Make it
Would that be easier?
Just move everything
Maybe.
to a different type code?
maybe. And it's also the accrual, because the accrual, how that's set up.
Yeah.
And Minnesota and North Dakota is different.
I thought we were using the personal base to try and track.
So then it's-
I thought we were using the personal base to try and track that special time.
Yes, but I think we also need to add it, so like in Minnesota, we can have that type code, like list those other type codes.
Oh, okay, I did talk to Brian about looking at that.
Yeah.
Conversion.
But thanks for bringing that up, yes.
next.
And then the other question for the portal is, some of our department heads, like corrections and dispatch, it takes them a while to look at it because there's so many pages. You know, and then if they get a call, they get logged out and then it doesn't save the word. Can the time be longer than, what did you say, 3 minutes? Or, yeah, that was one of the suggestions.
The timing out, if you need it to be longer.
On the portal, they're telling you?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, when the department heads are in there looking at their staff's time cards and seeing if they have everything in there, there are so many pages, because we have so many columns. And then they get timed out if they get a call or they gotta go do something, then they come back and it's timed out and then it doesn't say what they're doing.
It's, I think that is a session setting on the server.
Okay.
Oh, well, yeah, or I can take a look too, and see what it's set to, but,
What do you think would be satisfactory?
well, we usually use 30 minutes, I mean, for most of them, but.
Well, maybe it's 30 minutes, so up to an hour.
Maybe an hour, give them an hour, yeah.
And they're going into every timesheet
Yes.
for every employee.
Yes, to make sure they got their hours in and all that, because, like, corrections is 100 and, we kind of go off, they don't have that normal work
Right,
week,
yeah.
neither does dispatch, which
Mhm.
I love if dispatcher change your work hours or the work calculations for that, but
Sure.
but yeah, so then they go in and then they say they look up my name and then they page through all the columns to make sure they're like day shift and then they rotate to the night shift or
Okay.
then they got the weekend hours and then they got their vacation hours and then since it's not holiday hours yet, not accumulating or they can't use their holiday hours and they write in a column that they're taking holiday hours. And then we go in and manually put that in. So, yeah.
Yeah, because I think the other thing on that is most supervisors, and I get that that group is a little bit different, probably use that summary page like you have when you sign in as a payroll clerk. That's just one page, you can
Yep.
scan, and then if you want to see the detail. Okay. Yeah, because even on that, those portal changes we're doing with that shortcut, we still don't have it by day. It's still a summary. When you're in. With the new stuff Jack is working on, if you click on, my employees and that pop up. We have to think about that too, maybe that would be faster way as well.
You mean the editing of it by?
Yeah, or just reviewing, yeah, I mean, I guess I have to edit too, But think about that. That might be faster, you know what I mean, because that would be all be on, maybe
Yeah,
get that on one,
definitely.
we could get that maybe on one page
Yeah.
versus in that spreadsheet.
Yeah.
But then how to edit it, yes, we have that piece too. Thanks for bringing that up, with that, what some Jack's doing.
Yeah.
Okay.
And, Jason mentioned this, I don't know if it's still a problem or not, but I got an email. That the night shift hours do not always populate correctly, will show negative balance in the incorrect day. And I know Jason said that they were working on that, and he thought that was fixed, but I'm not sure 100%, because now that I'm kind of.
Preston, I know Preston's working on that, I thought I moved something over, but we should verify, just to make sure that is working.
Yeah, I thought Preston tested a couple of months ago, and so
Yeah.
she mentioned it yesterday, I was kind of surprised.
So
Yeah.
it probably is something.
Yesterday.
Sarah.
Well, and if that happens, like in real time, it'd be great if you could say, Bob Smith had this happen and we can go look at that detail
Yeah.
right away.
But
And
if you,
see,
if you could email us the user,
Yeah.
because it's the same pay period still.
Okay.
We could
yeah,
maybe,
so we can
look
look
and
at
see.
that and see what's.
The ID number, the employee ID number.
Yeah.
Okay.
And what day and so forth.
And I know Jared didn't say anything, but he was kind of in and out before he left. But apparently we had last month, one of the dispatchers, time didn't show up at all. Punches did not always record, it's random last month. When employees did not show up at the time of doing pay sheets. Looking at the pay sheets.
I thought that was all fixed, because there was something that
Jared
happened.
didn't say anything about that before he left, so.
That also was a while ago, probably 6 weeks ago, maybe.
Oh, she made it sound like it was right now.
Well, but there was something, remember, where we lost something was running out, we had made a change to the portal, and the hours were still there, or the times were still there, but that was, yeah, that was probably 6 weeks ago, would you say, maybe 2 months ago? So again, let us know if that happens right away, I think that is fixed.
Okay.
Yeah. Cause it happened like to 6 people, like at the time it happened, and we knew what it was from, and we fixed that problem and then recalculated the hours, so. But I didn't think it had happened again, because I checked with the other times, so
Is that something that was on the punch clock? Or just?
On the portal, yeah.
yeah, they're all.
Yeah.
So was it the punches that got lost or the?
The hours, the actual hour
Hours,
calculation,
okay.
so the punches were still there. So Preston was able to repopulate, and I think Jared had already manually done, like I said, it was only like 6 employees. But then we could trip it back to whatever. And then I think I'd asked in the next couple weeks if it had been happening, and it wasn't, so. Yeah,
And then Jason thought this was corrected too, was random amount of time. It'll automatically clock people out after random amount of time. Varies from 5 hours to 48 hours.
randomly log people out, like the
Yeah.
session would end, you mean?
No, randomly punch them out.
Oh, random punch.
Yeah, and we had decided that we punch out after 16, but they're claiming it's happening right.
Okay,
And so I think, yeah, I think they need to let us know when they notice it happens, so I can let Mike know, and Mike
Yeah.
can look at the logs and see if they're actually randomly punching them out, or somebody actually accidentally logging in and punching them out.
right, and you know, one of the issues with that was trying to get it to run at the right time, so I wonder. You know, to clean up, because we were cleaning it up at night, but then when law enforcement came on, well, then we can't clean them up at night, you know, we can't end the 16 hours at night, so. I know Preston was working on trying to figure out a good way of handling that, you know, to know when to do that check for the 16 hours.
And then just when it goes down, like Jason. It's down.
Well,
Log in and out, but
We can look at, because we've had to wrestle with that session before, I think it's on the HTTP server side.
Right, yeah.
But we've had to wrestle with that before, so give me a yell if it still happens after we adjust that, or if it doesn't make sense.
Oh, no, she's talking about when it crashes. on-
Crash.
Oh, the weekend thing we were
Yeah.
talking about, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I did pull the logs from that, yesterday, I haven't went through to see if we figure out why.
Yes, thanks for those, and let us know when those happen, because then we might have a chance of finding something in the log if there is something. In error, so. Great,
so would it be easier to change that type code then for the holiday pay?
I will have to look at that again, I have to refresh my memory, you remember Heidi?
I'm gonna have to go back and look at notes as well.
I will look at that tomorrow when I'm back in the
I
office.
thought we were down to the point of changing a description.
We all know my memory doesn't work. Erica's and one's.
Yeah, because once that holiday pay gets on there, then I like that.
That would be a lot.
You get the shares rolling on it.
Yeah, fun time,
Well, thank you guys for putting all the legwork into
Yeah.
this,
and some good testers and.
yeah.
Cause that's a relatively new, I mean, it's a couple of years now, but the punch clock. And ransom. Working on that for us, so. All right, thanks, everybody, and yeah, we will be obviously here and we can catch you after the meeting too, if you guys have additional. Specific module questions, so. Julie, Dominique?
Yes, Julie's first.
I'm just gonna do a quick overview of auditor and commissioner warrants. As many of you know, there's a two-part process. There's the vouchers and then you bring them back into the warrant process. Voucher batches, you can either create them. Can you go to the next one? Oops, sorry. You can either create them on your own from your list of bills, or they will come over from payroll or the miscellaneous receipt program. I like to call vouchers the safe spot because it's where you can fix anything, change the amount, change the vendor, change the description. You can also catch that by running your audit list or your DE list to check everything over, and then you can always go back into your vouchers and get those changes done before you head into your warrant batch. So if there are no errors, you can process that, and then you'll see on your screen when you choose P, that it'll say PROC on the end. Then you'll be bringing it into the warrant batch, F6, kind of the favorite key to bring those warrants in. You can do all of them, individual or selective. I guess if you have other departments that also make voucher batches, you'll probably want to do the selective one. So you make sure to choose the right one. And then it'll pop up in red. Oh, you're good. It'll pop up in red after you pick your batch. Then you can create. When I did this, I guess, I would check it again to make sure for one last error before you move along. And then you can choose the A for your register and warrants. That's where you'll put in. Try to go to the next one. You can put in your starting warrant number, your direct deposit number, the date of your payment, board approval, and then what your check register, if you want regular, the abbreviated, or both. Then you can, those will print out, you'll have your checks in your inbox. And I thought all looks good, you've printed your checks. You can go ahead and process. Go to the next one. Sorry. And then I was just gonna say the difference between the suspended and the processed, when they're still in the suspended status. That's when you run your register and warrant, you can delete it, you can run your audit listing, it's still kind of a good place to have. But once you've processed, you can't do that register and warrant thing again. But you can copy and reverse those, and then you can no longer delete your batch, it's kind of there. And just remember to be cautious of your dates when you're processing or reversing those batches. But some excitement possibly. But this will only work if you do not have pre-printed checks. I feel like everybody's done this. Oh no, you just printed your checks and you realize they have the wrong date, or you use the wrong check numbers. You want to go back, but you're at that place where you can't go back anymore. So we're working on a fix that will get you back to that suspended status. So you can, is it going to be in their system file, or is it going to be able to be set up?
This check setup tells us if they're pre-numbered. So
Okay.
you don't
Okay.
even get to do this if you have your numbers printed on your checks. But it just takes you back to your warrants, no.
So you can run your register and warrants again to get those correct check numbers, that correct date on there. So you'll get the following, you can press a 2 on there and it'll bring you to, you'll get this warning. It's gonna warn you, checks have already been printed. This will cause everything to be removed. You'll go back to that suspended status again. But then we're just gonna remind you too, if you've already done your ACH to the bank, you might have to call them. But this will get those back to, you can get that right check number, you can get the right date on there. You won't have to be, voiding checks and all that fun stuff. And then it'll bring you back to, it'll say suspended right here instead of an N, it'll have a Y or an N, not a Y, because you won't have that printed status on there anymore.
And also you can make changes.
Yes, and then you'll be able to go back and
If a
make the
vendor was
changes.
wrong.
Vendor was wrong, amount was wrong. Any questions?
When you do that, will it subtract the bin back out of the account and then re-add it back in? Like when you do a reverse you know, you see a positive and then you'll see a negative, now you're gonna redo that, maybe see another positive.
This is, you have to process your batch, so technically not those records are in yet. So this is just to erase your board numbers as if you never applied them yet.
But she's talking about if you change it.
Oh, if you change your amount,
Don't know about that.
I believe it should, doesn't it? Because they haven't been applied to the main file yet, because it's not, I thought that only happened when you process.
Right.
It's
So
right
check-in
here.
vouchers.
Do we have to repeat that?
Good question.
Because you need to adjust your AP entry. Enter expense.
Not that it's a bad thing, but have a lot of.
It might be bad.
Right.
Things that aren't in balance are asked.
Your turn.
My turn? Yep. All right, will you flip my PowerPoint?
Yeah.
Here's chatting. You're gonna have to move my cursor all the way across to get to this monitor. Unless it's over there already. I don't think it is.
I just got a text from the girls in the office. They said it's kind of hard to hear the discussions because no one is front talking.
Oh,
So if you
sorry
could
about
repeat
that.
what the discussion was, maybe in the crowd, it'd be helpful for those online.
Which part? I guess, which part do they want?
They just said the discussion.
Just in general?
Yeah.
We'll just have to repeat it.
I'll repeat the questions.
Yeah.
Okay, the question that was just asked was about editing a suspended warrant batch, which we do allow you to do currently. If they were asking if, let's say you changed the amount or GL account, technically, when you process your voucher batch, your AP entries have already been created. So she's wondering if when you do that edit, change the amount, change the date, count number, does it do a correcting entry in the background if you were to edit that record and hit save? And that is something we'll have to double check. I believe it does, but of course we'll make sure of it, especially if we're gonna allow you to back in there after applying those warrant numbers and then undoing it. So we'll make sure of that. All right, Julie. Yeah, so you have to, it's just like your monitors, you'll have to go all the way across, like, and then double tap. Oh, sorry. Okay. I'm gonna go over check reconciliation. It's an option within the financial system. Currently, there's only one county that currently uses it, which is Barnes County. And we've been working on improving it and working on making it work better. And so I figured we'd go over it since most of you do not use it. So the whole point of check reconciliation is it pulls in the moment you process your batches, your auditor, commissioner manuals, it will pull in all those into the check reconciliation. The whole point of check reconciliation is to not balance, but checks and balance between your bank and what you actually have in the system or vice versa. So what's being cashed matches what you actually wrote. Or let's say you voided something, make sure it did not get cashed in the bank. So you will see all those all in check reconciliation. Of course, direct deposits will not be seen because that's done in the payroll system. And the interface that's done between payroll and IFS is just journal entries. So there are no, check numbers or direct deposit numbers technically. So those are not included, but everything else that's physically done in the financial system will show up in there. Oh. Just double click. There you go. So this is what it looks like when you go into the check reconciliation. These are the options that you have available. I'm gonna start and go through all 7 options. Oh, okay, you clicked too much. Okay, that's quite all right. Option 1 is, let's say you did want your payroll or any other checks that aren't in financial to be counted for your check reconciliation. So this is not adding it to the financial system physically, it's only for check reconciliation for you to balance. So to say you have anything outside the system, like payroll, for example, you do have ability to import it in with an Excel, which of course, if you want that template, we'll of course give it to you. That allows you to do it. I forgot to mention earlier, check reconciliation is like a copy of your checks over. So if you do anything in check rec, will not hurt anything in the main part of the financial system. This is just for you to check your balance. So if you delete anything, added anything, stays within check rec, doesn't change anything outside it. So do keep that in mind. So let's say you want to do voids or you have voids counted. You're not going to reconcile voids. Some counties do, some don't. It's personal preference. You can just delete them and then they won't be seen when you run your reports for check reconciliation in there as well. Option 2 is maintaining, like I said. You can delete or edit anything that has been processed within the financial system. So you'll see them all here. Looking on the far right side, you'll see where they came from. Let's say you did import payroll. They will say pay PAY here. Of course, majority of them will say fin for financial because that's where they came from. And then if anything needs to be edited, you want to change description, date, or delete, you can do so here before you start actually reconciling them through the system. So like I said, you can do any entries that you can also add entries here. So let's say instead of doing import, you just have to add a few hand checks that you haven't done or anything outside the system that you want added here, just so you can balance within comparing to your bank. You can also add, I forgot to mention that. When you're in here, it's going to show you all checks that you've ever done within the whole system if you have not reconciled and done the cleanup, which is finalized your month. So let's say besides Barnes, one of you are interested in starting it, do let us know because it's all your checks since you've started financial. So that's a lot. So we might have to reconcile a few for you and clear them out for you before you can go in there, or you're going to have a very, very long list when you go in there, which is why we have the finalized month. That'll clear reconciled checks that you've already reconciled. But of course, for those who are the first time going in since, well, if never, forever, we can do that for you. So you can get into it because it might not load if you've never done it. I know Ransom looked like they did it, I think 2012. I saw a little bit of purging. Looks like someone went in there, was doing it for a little bit and then stopped. Just let us know and we'll gladly help you be able to get in there and then allow you to look around and take a look. Option 3, this is where you're going to reconcile your checks once you're ready to do this. So we allow you to do it 2 different ways. One through a range of checks, another for individuals. You can just do it one by one as you like. First way, like I said, is the ranges. So first you'll enter in your reconcile date. Usually last day of the month is what most people enter. Of course, it's up to you on how you would like to do that. Then you can put in multiple different ranges or just one range of the checks you wish to reconcile. And then you hit enter. And then it'll just reconcile it. Number 3 is through individual. So of course, enter in your reconcile date. And then it's going to show you all checks that have not been reconciled. So then you'll have to go through one by one, put an X on it, and which ones you would like to reconcile, hit enter, and then you'll see the reconcile date appear. And then they will be officially reconciled. Oh, I went through the steps. Yes, put the X in front of it, and then you hit enter. And then you'll see that they'll populate. Now, once you have reconciled or you haven't started at all, you can first run a report based off the as of date to see where you were at. Of course, for those who haven't started, we can do a clear up to a certain month or certain year, so it doesn't give you 200 pages. But this is a quick way just to view it all, or especially if you have your bank statement right here, might be a little easier if you're doing paper to paper than on computer to paper or wherever, however you would like to do it. This is what it's gonna look like, the report. It's gonna give you the check number, date, amount, if it's been reconciled, although based off that report, it shouldn't. And then your vendor and vendor name. Next is the reconciled. Of course, this is not an as of, but actually a date range, which you can see all checks that have been reconciled. Say you want to look back, or you've reconciled and can't remember which ones you did. You can run this report and it will print that report out for you and show you what ones are done. Looks very similar to the other one, of course, but the check reconciled date is filled in, or this report is only filtering based off those. And of course, a grand total at the bottom if you want to see if you match per each month, if you're balancing to your bank. Next, let's say you're all done reconciling, everything looks good. You're balancing to your bank. Now it's up to you to clear. Now, I wouldn't recommend this if you do it every month, like right away after you're like, oh, May's done, clear it. I wouldn't recommend doing that. I would recommend waiting a few months or waiting per year, purge after you're done with that year and then do it. But this is where you would go say, yes, purge, and then it'll clear it out, everything that's been reconciled, and then it'll clean up when you go back to option 2 to do maintenance. It'll not load as many, and you should be good to go for that year or wherever you may be in the process. Next is check inquiry. Instead of running reports like those 2 reports earlier, let's say you have a physical check or a certain check you want to look up. We do have check inquiry, works very similar to the disbursement inquiry, except it's going to tell you if it's reconciled or not. So this is what it looked like. I was looking up a check, so I can see here. Yep, this check does exist in check reconciliation, and then I would do a 5 in there to take a look a little more detail. I do that. I can check at the bottom where it came from, and then if it's been reconciled, yes or no. To make it a little easier if you're finding something within this. Any questions about check reconciliation, or if anyone's interested in starting it, because we can do that purge, so you can actually go in there and not see so many years. Any questions on the Zoom, Julie? Oh, did you lose it? Nope, the blue one. And then you'll have the. Where did it disappear to? There it is. Okay. Any questions on check rack or warrants or any questions at all within it? Any questions within financial as a whole while we're at it? I did want to let you know, just like Erica and Heidi said, no changes so far in 1099s, cross fingers. Of course, it's a little early for any changes to be done for 1099s, if there's going to be any, but there are so far no changes to 1099s or anything per that process like it was last year. And of course, the same rule applies for, like she said, for submitting online or via, mail. You have to be 10 plus, have to do it online. If under 10, then you can still do paper. So that rule also applies for 1099s.
Somebody, just one question for you.
Sure.
Like, we've moved to paying a lot by ACH
Oh,
now instead of check.
Mhm.
And we just had an issue come up with an international vendor.
Oh,
The bank rejected their ACH because there was some international code.
okay.
So, first time it's ever happened to us was Canada.
Oh, it's Canada, okay.
Canada, which I'm sure a lot of us would possibly. So is there a place where is there a special thing we need to put in somewhere in their vendor maintenance for that international code? So is that something we need to work out with our bank when we know we have
I think when it happened when I was at Stevens and we did something with the bank.
with the bank?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
I was gonna say, there isn't any specialty fields.
right, yeah.
I
we got-
do know that.
Yeah, because we got kicked back, like all the information is correct, the routing number, the account number, but because it was international.
They did.
And we didn't have any idea that that would be an issue, so. Just throwing it out there for any of you that maintain ACH. Internationally, there could be some issues.
Okay.
Even if it's just our neighbors to the north.
Okay. Any questions about anything else? Anything you want to bring up? Did Zoom hear that question? I'm hoping. Okay, wasn't sure if they heard it. Any other questions? If not, what time is it? I don't even.
10 o'clock.
10 o'clock?
Yeah, so
You
I'm
wanna-
gonna take a quick 15-minute break. If you
Okay.
guys did sign in.
We're gonna do a quick 15-minute break for those on Zoom, sorry.
And then we do.
And then we'll come back.
Here and phone stands, candy, pens, help yourself, please.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for coming to Fargo today. I'm Liz, and this is Julie Bruns. She's also working with North Dakota Tax, and you guys probably spoke to her this winter in my absence. A couple weeks ago, Gwen did some updates to North Dakota Tax. Thank you, Barnes County, for, pushing us to make those fixes for you guys. It's a done deal. Some of the fixes that were done, and we did send out an email about this, but, the report headings on your apportionment reports are now right. They all say real estate where they need to say real estate or mobile home or delinquent, et cetera, et cetera. I don't know if you guys noticed that before, but, Barnes County was the only one that ever mentioned it to us. So it is fixed. The report headings on apportionment, Linda, they all are correct now. Did you notice that?
No.
Okay, so maybe it was just isolated to Barnes County. Yeah. But that's,
Ours all said mobile home.
right,
And so
right,
now they have say real estate.
Yeah, ours did too.
okay,
I don't know.
so maybe it was, okay. Sorry about that. And what else? What else did we put out on the end of June? So then a lot of that update that we did in June, the end of June probably didn't pertain to your counties then. It was mostly Barnes. So the report headings are fixed and batch totals. Did anybody ever encounter, when you're doing your batch totals, that there weren't jiving? That is fixed. That was part of the release in the end of June. Thank you, Barnes County, for
Pointing out those things.
well, because nobody ever called in and talked about it except you guys, so. So that was a good change. Valuation notices, there was a wording update that got updated as well. Regarding the increase and stuff. And then,
The extra sheets on the audit listing,
what's that?
the extra sheets on the audit listing. The heading page,
Tell me more.
when we did audit listing, it would print the first page. And then it would print the batch on page 2.
Yeah, it still does that.
Does it still do that?
Yeah. So you know what options you took when you ran it and what, like we merge batches together, so to list all the batches that are in the audit list.
So your information actually starts on page 3.
Correct.
Instead of, if you could combine those 2 pages, it would waste so much. As much.
Okay. So that's happening in your county.
Yeah, you took the copies of that.
Did I take copies of that one?
But I think it's just how the report prints, on every report that we run, the first page is your cover page that says what the report is, what your selections are. And then the next page shows what batches are in that audit.
Okay,
Which is, they've always been that way.
okay. All right. And then, on the GL summary report, there was a few that if you had more than $10 million, it wasn't printing correctly. It is now printing correctly and it is displaying all the figures it needs to print. And then, there's a report that Barnes County uses a lot. It's called the unpaid tax listing, the school district report. And that report, you can print any tax year now. Previously, it was only the current tax year, but we can go back 2, 3, 4, 5 years, whatever you need to do. So that report was huge, was a big project for Valley City School District for like the last 6 months. So that is available also. I'm not sure if a lot of you guys use that report or not, but that report is amazing. It pulls in, there's so much data that is available. And you can take out what you don't need, you know. I know it's kind of overwhelming, the amount of data on it, but take something out if you don't need it. So those were the updates that we did back in the end of June. Not a lot of new things for North Dakota tax, other than the primary residence credit, of course. So back in January, we did some programming to do the applications to the state, and that is done. And of course, and we just recently got files from the state to upload into CPT. Did you guys do your upload? Did everybody get their uploads done?
No.
And that's fine, you got time. We're still doing programming to do the rest of the piece of the puzzle here. If you're familiar with the veteran and homestead credit work files, that is how this process is gonna work, okay? So we upload this to our system and it's there now. Dominique, can you?
Oh, sorry.
And I just put a little bit of information about the credit. You guys all know the details of the credit. You can go ahead. These are the menu options that we have out here so far. It kind of looks like the work files for homestead and vet credit. Menu tax M22, option 13. Step 1 is what we did in January to get it to the state. Step 2 is what we just got. So the files that you just got from the state is step 2, okay? And I had sent out instructions on what you needed to do to upload that. And as soon as programming is done, we're gonna add additional steps in this spot right here. So as soon as it's done, I will be sending out a sequence so you guys know how to do the rest of it. And as far as estimated tax statements, you know, typically, you know, our meeting is early this year. Typically, the meeting is at the end of July. So I won't have the estimated tax statement sequence to you guys until probably the end of July, as soon as programming's done, because there's lots of stuff going on with this. We have to create general ledger, we have to do tax calculation, tax values, the estimated statement, the layout of it. So lots of stuff coming up yet, so. Yeah.
Excuse me. Do I have everybody's order that wants lunch? Yes, nobody has one. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, no problem. So there's more to come, okay? So if you haven't done the upload, it's no worries. If you have done the upload, if you had any trouble with it, let me know, okay? You can go to the, and with the new resident credit, if you go into any of the parcels from your upload, if you go in an inquiry, you'll notice that there's a residence credit eligible. You can see that on inquiry now. So, but like I said, there's lots of work to do yet, so. Okay, you can go on to the next page. General ledger fund maintenance, probably the biggest pain in our butts, right, guys? Especially during apportionment time. I just put on some helpful tips. If you guys are setting up a new GL fund, like, for example, if you're doing it in homestead credit and vet credit, you can copy that data from your real estate credit. There is an option in vet and homestead credit, option number 6, to update information from the GL. That is super helpful, so you don't have to enter all that data again. So I don't know if you guys remember that step is in there, but it's an option for you guys, okay? And then when creating a new special assessment, go to GL fund maintenance and create the new GL fund. That is probably the most biggest problem, I would say. It's always forgotten, you know, when that new special is created to go into GL to, you know, finish that up. You're not gonna notice it until a couple months later when you're receiving something in that has that. So that's always a fun one. And I already talked about moving that information from the real estate. And then also, when you're reviewing your to and from years on your GL fund maintenance, if your years are getting close, like if you see a 2025 out there, go ahead and extend it 10, 15 years out, whatever you want. Then you don't have to do it again. Or 50 years, yeah, 50 years works too. So, because if you don't extend that year out and you come across it in apportionment, you're gonna get stuck, because you need to move it out. Okay, I've got Julie with some refunds.
Oh,
I don't know.
Oh, stop sharing. One second. Oh, I think you guys touched the cord.
I did touch it, yeah.
Oh, don't touch it.
You don't have to talk, but, yeah.
just make things.
Okay, what do you want to talk about?
While we're waiting, I have a question. Are we going to get the tip sequence? Should we be doing that now?
I was gonna send out the TIF sequence when I send out the estimated tax statements. If you want it now, I can send it like on Monday. There you go.
And I'm going to talk about refunds and abatements. The steps to doing that is, you need to refund the taxes, then do the abatement, and then you're gonna cut a check to the taxpayer. Just a reminder that refunds can't be done on a payroll that is paid up, so you want to check the inquiry screen to make sure that they are at zero due for their taxes. To do the refund posting, you're gonna go to your auditor's menu, you're gonna pick your abatement and add posting total settlements, post your refund, and then once you get in there, you have the option of real estate, mobile home, delinquent real estate, or mobile home. You need to select which one you're going to be refunding, and then you're gonna hit on the bottom, you're gonna do the parcel number and then the date that you're gonna do the refund. You're gonna enter the refund how you want as a negative. So make sure you take it out of the taxes, the assessments, the discounts, make sure that you're applying all the amounts to the right places. And then you're gonna hit the refund, then you're gonna go back. I just check the inquiry screen to make sure that I really did take those taxes away. And then after that, then you're safe to abate those taxes. So when you abate the taxes, you're gonna go back to the auditor's menu, go back to the abate, adding post, add posting and total settlement. And then there is numbers for posting abatements and additions. Then once you get in there, you're gonna grab that amount that you refunded and select where you're gonna abate it. I just did the $200, but that's what I did last time. If it does affect your special assessments or your like TIF, I believe, or something in there, something else in there that you can pick. I don't remember.
There's two options.
I think there's special assessments and
I don't know the other, we don't use the other ones. I don't remember what it is.
then we don't need to talk about it.
We'll go to the next one.
And then go back and check your inquiry screen again. Make sure that it's gonna show the original taxes, what you abated, what is now needs to be receipted. I think this is where it asks about that. Oh, and it'll ask about adjusting the special assessments and posting the addition for the tax increment. There it is. Yep. All right, this is the inquiry screen to make sure that everything looked good. Yeah, it does. And then too, when you're doing your tax apportionment, make sure you take into consideration these refunds, because otherwise you're not gonna It won't balance. So make sure you run your refund posting. Make sure you also, when you go through, then you're gonna send this over to IFS. Check your general ledger, you're gonna capture your totals. So then when your apportionment is all done, it's gonna be, your apportionment will be all good. And IFS will work, everything will be great.
I know that there's been a lot of discussion, do I do a minus posting or a refund posting? You know, I get that constantly. And what I always tell people, if your intent is to cut a check to the customer, you do a refund posting. Okay? And then do your refund journal as well, and then abate it if you need to abate it, whatever the circumstances. So, because there is a difference with minus posting, you know, and the refund posting. I mean, the net effect is still the same, but where it's going next. So keep that in mind. And like Julie said too, the most important thing is there a balance on the customer right now? You know, otherwise you need to do that minus posting or refund posting first. Okay? So keep that in mind.
Okay, I went through that.
Debbie?
What we don't do the refund posting.
I know.
Because you have to combine that report with another report, you know, balancing. So it's, you know, a step thing, what we call a negative posting, I don't know what else. And then it puts it all under one report,
Mm-hmm.
but I mean, it's easier for us, I don't know how other companies do it, or what the benefit or not
Yeah,
benefit is.
I think that you guys are the only ones that do it like that.
Somebody must come up, because it's kind of a shortcut, to send it all combined nicely onto
To one report, right?
We try to get one report, put it to another report to see, match it, you know.
Mm-hmm. I know
I don't know how other companies do it.
they do refund posting
So
and
they
my,
take the two reports.
yeah, because there's a refund journal that you have to print, and then there's an abatement journal, and then you can, you know, tie that into your reports and stuff, so. And then when you're doing your apportionment at the end of the month, you know, you can select refunds, abatements, etc. So it all works out nicely, so, I mean, it would be awesome if you guys would do that way, but you have to do what works for you guys.
I think they just did it years ago like that, and it simplified it, it was one nice little report, we didn't have to grab more than one report, try to figure out where we're at. Just mix it all together,
Right.
that must be why they did it years ago, that way we just kept doing it.
All right, and you move on to. Okay, and then miscellaneous questions. Do you guys have any questions? Yes,
I had emailed you guys about
this printing statement.
printing statements.
Yes.
So we are trying to eliminate as much paper from our office as we can. And it gets to be, so, you know, when you take a tax payment and a receipt will auto print. Well, and I know we can set up our printers to hold them so they're not released and all that. But what we're wondering is, instead of, if it could print to a PDF, instead, that could be filed away electronically. Because right now what we're doing is we're auto printing those receipts, a second one if the customer wants one. And then we're taking that paper file, we're putting it in an alpha slotter, and then we're filing all of those alphabetically. And so we end up with these huge binders, like 10 of them, for every year we have to keep. And then if somebody comes in and says, oh, I want a copy of my tax statement, then we have to go back to the big honking paper binders, try to make sure that whoever filed them alpha correct, and pull it out. So we're just trying to see if there is a way we can digitally file taxes, because I know there's a way in the system that you can reprint a receipt, but it doesn't have the same information on it as the original receipt.
Right.
Which is why we continue to print them. Any possible upgrades for that on the horizon?
I'm gonna let Gwen speak on that behalf. We talked about it after that email, so thank you for sending that.
So what we've kind of come up with, because sometimes you do want to print.
Right, sometimes we would like, yeah.
So we
if the
do all
customer
that
wants
still,
it.
you can and don't have to, but as well. And we probably set a flag so you all can use it, or you don't have to. We would generate that PDF and store it in a drive. And then a naming convention kind of kicked around. You talked about the P number, but I think you'd want more than that. If you're trying to find one, you want the date and the batch and probably the validation number. All in that title, so if you're looking for it, you can kind of,
Yeah, do a search.
yes.
Yeah. And I'm open to whatever, I was just trying to think of like what would be an easy way to name it. But yes, we need, the MP number will work some of the times, but you're right, other times we might wanna know the date or.
And, yeah. And like, out on the drives now, you can have, your naming convention can be this long.
Right.
It doesn't have to be like this anymore, so we can put lots of stuff in there that you might want to search by, but the one thing that I don't really know how we do, since on your receipts, you can pay all years. And so we really can't segregate them by year. I think I don't know, maybe we can segregate them by year, the batch year. You might be able to do that, so like your batch year would be receipts, 2024. Let's say we get it going by that. So anything that would have a batch date less in the year 24 would go in there, and then we could go on to 25 when that starts. And that's the only segregation I can really think of because of the fact that you can pay any year that's old at one time.
And I guess the only time the year would really come into play would be when we're getting, when we're doing our record retention. And I'm not too concerned about record retention. One, it's electronic, so, kind of set it and forget it kind of thing, but we just probably have to look at a different retention schedule for those to make sure that we're keeping the newest one the amount of time, it's 2023 taxes we're collecting. We don't get rid of them until 2023, regardless of what's in that batch.
Right.
Is the schedule.
And once it's on the drive, that's up to you all.
Right, yeah, that would be amazing if we could work towards something like that.
I think if that sounds like a plan for people.
Cause I don't know, cause it's a lot of space to keep all those 3-ring binders, and it's a lot of time to file all of those.
And a lot of paper.
And a lot of paper. We keep the receipt.
We're talking about counter posting receipts.
Yeah.
So we're talking about.
Receipt. Taxes.
And what is most important to you? Is it our validation number or the state validation? Which would make more sense to put in that, the naming convention of the PDF?
Probably the validation number from you guys that matches, so that if we ever had to go back and, reverse something, we have to use the same validation number on our other reports, I would think.
Okay, everyone agree with that? Yeah, okay. So what we're thinking is, it might start with the word RCPT, and then it would be the MP number, which is a taxpayer number, and then the date and the batch and the validation number. If you can think of anything else you'd want in there, just let us know. Because that's just our idea. This is what you all need.
Like for us, that would solve our problem. We would be immensely grateful.
Anyone else? Thoughts?
Does anybody else have questions?
Can you send out those slides to us?
Oh, yeah. I'm gonna do that.
We'll be sending out all the PowerPoint after.
I have another question too, for you. And Gwen, this might be a question for you too. I know each year, as we get to this time of the year, I think the state equalization is meeting today for essentially assessed properties. So I usually email you, hey, can you clear out these assessment codes for us? Do we still need to email you to clear out the pipelines and all of that? Or is there a sequence we can run to clear those values before we get our new values certified to us?
Aren't they cleared out in New Year input?
Yeah, they do, but do you guys do that you don't do all the sequence, do you? Because of those centrally assessed, right? And I think we talked about where,
Cause I usually email, hey, can you please clear 460, 461?
right. The question is about the centrally assessed, values about clearing them out, and typically that's done, in the new year value sequence. But I know Mackenzie County doesn't do all that sequence because of those values. So,
We have a program.
yeah, and I think that we talked about not doing all of them, right? Or were we gonna do all of them? All the 460s. I need to look at my notes, but
Yeah, you'll have to.
cause we came across that last year too, because of some of those,
So you had emailed the spreadsheet,
Well, it's not a spreadsheet, but it's a list of like 5 or 6 assessment codes
right?
that we email you, ask you to clear out.
Okay, then I'm thinking of something else, because that was the spreadsheet that you asked if we could upload something.
I think I've asked in the past, and I'll ask again.
Because you have so many,
Right.
right?
Because we have like 10,000 lines we have to
Right.
upload. So right now, I'm going in and manually entering all those values for all those. So if there's a way in the future, so we get 10,000 lines, we then sort it by township, range, section, to assign a taxing district to it. And then once we co-mingle all of those with the same taxing district, and then they go to a parcel number. And then we have to upload that value into the system, so I end up with a lot. It's a day's work to go in and update all those or add all those values, and then if you match, you go home for the day because it's a feat. But yes, it would be super nice to be able to, just like we're doing in the primary residence credit, where we have a parcel number and a value, and I know it sounds simple to me because I don't know how to do the programming, and then it just uploads that value into the.
But it is simple, if we have a parcel number. What you had sent originally, I think was what you get without the parcel number.
Maybe, but
And we were looking at it and we were going, well, how do we know? But
Yeah, I do go through all that work and then I put it to a parcel number, and if it's,
when we get to that step, we can bring it.
okay.
Yeah.
We'll try it this year.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So you're saying to notify you of the parcel numbers that we need and.
It would have
values
to
we
go
need to
into
sign?
the spreadsheet somewhere. And then we have to have a certain format for that spreadsheet, which
Yeah.
we'll have, and then we should be, there's no reason we can't upload those values into our system.
It would save me, all of us, me in particular, because we have so many centrally assessed properties. A ton of time, and plus all the balancing time. Okay, yeah, well, we'll work on it.
Linda, do you have a lot in your county?
No. I'm not
Okay.
gonna take me in for our hands.
Okay.
That's right.
I feel for it. I definitely do.
Okay,
But no, I just took all
oh, did you? Okay,
working on it.
sure. And Nicole, do you have a lot of centrally assessed? You have, yeah, you have a fair amount. I remember that too. Okay. All right, does anybody have any other questions, comments? Thoughts?
Back to financial, I guess.
Sure.
When we're doing our users like budgets, it prints old accounts. How can I delete them? I want them out of there. It wastes so much paper. I got that.
So I'm guessing these are accounts that you haven't used in a while and they have no balances, correct?
Correct.
And are they inactivated in the chart?
Yes.
Yes.
And they're still being pulled.
But I've even tried to inactivate
Everything.
accounts, and they still
And they still print. Yes, they
Oh.
still print. All of that stuff prints.
Okay.
I can look into that.
And which one is it?
User selected budget. And it's not in your budget, correct?
correct.
It's not. Yeah.
Those accounts.
And they haven't been used for years, and
Oh,
you vote
okay.
in, cause I've gone in, I'm gonna inactivate this,
I do
so
too.
something doesn't get charged to that line item, or whatever. But they never
They never go away.
They never go away.
Yeah, I can look into why it's pulling inactive accounts into a user, you said user budget report, right?
Any of them, if pulled in, any.
So these are.
Is there anywhere else?
Doesn't it do it on the activity or the revenue and expenditure reports too?
They don't.
There's every.
Yeah, they're still printing. You know,
Okay.
every year, but.
Maybe those ones you don't need.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll look
I
into
agree.
why it's pulling inactive accounts.
Yeah, it's not just user select budget, it's everywhere, revenue expenditure guidelines, it's on all the reports that it prints. Yeah, so it's like
Reading.
can't inactivate a fund or a line item because it doesn't matter, yeah, it's
Okay.
different.
Yeah, we can look at that and see if we can get that to full. Or not full,
Only active.
only active only.
Yeah.
Okay, we can do that.
Give us
Hopefully
that
that'll help.
option, not give us that.
That'd be really nice.
Okay.
That would be good.
We can look into that, make sure it's not pulling inactive accounts into these reports.
All right, and I heard that there's a birthday in the room today. Julie, happy birthday.
It might have slipped.
Speech.
I can retire now.
But you're not.
All right.
And we have a retirement.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
You probably have a speech for sure.
Hallelujah, so.
But you are maybe going to stay on a little bit part-time.
I like that, Lisa.
I said I write a letter of support for our
We need to
commissioners.
cover that commission meeting and-
Of course, yeah. A contract for 5 years.
Yes. Exciting.
Maybe for you, not for us.
And welcome, Melissa.
Thank you.
Mhm.
We are. Food should be coming probably in about a half hour or so. So we can visit about anything, I guess. Is there anything from anyone on the Zoom?
No one's asked questions on Zoom.
Okay, so we can probably end the Zoom.
Okay.
Thanks for joining us, those of you remotely.
We will be emailing all the PowerPoints tomorrow or tonight, ultimately.
Well, sometime this week, probably not tonight.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Stacy said thanks.
Yeah.
Okay, and then we'll also send the link on where the recording will be once that's rendered. and
Yeah,
That'll take a little bit, but yes, as well.
and then, like I said, trying to update email contacts for all the counties, so we aren't missing anybody that should be receiving correspondence.
Okay.
But then, yeah, we can visit, I guess, whatever, here until our book shows up.
All right, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
You guys.
Carol,
Glad you guys.
Appreciate you later, that other time. Oh, I got 2 numbers.
Yes.